Pardon our dust.
It's all right. It smells good. Just got done pulling the old Disty out. It's pretty straightforward. One thing you want to do when you do a project like this, and before I even got started, was I verified that all my plug wires were heading to the right spark plugs, right? Pretty important. And then leave them all on the cap of the old distributor and just take it off. And then when I took my air cleaner off, I unscrewed the stud that holds that in, and then I bagged the carburetor, so that way I had something to kind of stretch the cap back to. Because what you want to do is once we get this new distributor dropped in, we're going to one by one replace each of the plug wires. So that way we don't go screwing anything up or having to think too hard on this sunny Thursday. I forgot that at one point I had swapped out my original clamp with a new one, but it sits on a stud. You might have a stud, you might have a bolt, but essentially it's just this little clamp and clamps down on the bottom of the distributor. So, and this is what you're gonna want. You wanna know where this is, so that way you can loosen it up and you can even adjust your timing. I highly recommend you going and getting a big old crow's foot specifically made for distributor hold down clamps. I mean, you could do it with a wrench when everything's apart, but when the cap's on there and the plug wires are there, you're gonna want this. That way you can really snug it down too when you get that good timing set. On the top of this, it's kind of gouged out. I don't really like the look of that, so I'm gonna go pick up a nice washer and a good lock-in washer for this, so that way when I get it set, it's not all willy-nilly. Now, before you go taking that off and pulling out the distributor, take the cap off and look and see sort of where your rotor is pointing. And you wanna mark something relative to that, so that way when we put the new distributor in, we can get it kind of in the general area. The rest of the timing we can make up by rotating the base of the distributor, but the rotor kind of generally needs to be within 5 degrees or so. And as long as you aim it, hopefully the gear will line up and it'll drop right in. If not, the bottom of it might have an issue because it interfaces with the oil pump, and it's like a big flathead screwdriver. You can stick it in there and turn that to line it up if that's the issue, but hopefully this one just drops right in. So now if you look at the bottom of these units, and this is something you can do ahead of time, is look at the rotor and then look at that key relative to it. So on the MSD, you can see it's off by about, I don't know, 10 degrees or something from the center of the rotor. The JEGS, which would be especially nice if you're doing a new build, you can see it's lined up perfect. So good job over there at JEGS getting this thing machined really nice. So, I mean, I would say I could stick the screwdriver in there and just rotate it by that little hair, or there might be enough slack in it to take it, so we'll see. All right, let's see if it takes the transplant. This engine's already broken in, so I didn't put any assembly lube, I just dipped it in some fresh oil. All right, so we want to be somewheres about here. We're back a little, let's see. I'm gonna lift it up and try it just a little bit this way. All right, and I'd call that a solid drop. You know what? I just made a mistake. I made it in real time, and I'll show you guys. All right, so everything lined up perfectly with the rotor, but I got the vacuum advance on the wrong side, so. But it should just line up just as well. Never goes as easy as the first time, right? You know what? I think they wanted me to teach you the screwdriver trick. Man, that was frustrating AF because it dropped right in the first time. But I had the base plate facing the wrong direction and kind of got into it with a little bit of the oil pump drive. But like I said, you just got to crawl up in there, which I didn't want to do, but climb up in there, stick your head down there and just fiddle with that thing and get it lined up, because it's definitely super important, because you really got to take into factor your engine compartment and sort of where all the harnesses and all that stuff, where the vacuum can's going to fit in, where the power wire and sort of that thing's going to fit in, you know, what side of the compartment do you want it in. So I already knew where mine was oriented was perfect, so I had to get the base where it was. So it was worth it. Up our JEGS rotor and coil, or excuse me, cap and coil assembly on here. And don't forget, it does have that notch. It's where is it? It's right here. That notch is going to help you kind of line everything up back here. These things can be a little wonky if you've never played with them, making sure that all four of them are hanging out. But they're quite effective and simple. You want these things on nice and tight and where they need to be, because this will actually affect your timing too. Alright, and then this is our power wire. We're not going to hook that up yet, but we have our harness coming out. And this is just, you know, very similar to the OEM one. It's just going to plug up in here, and it's got a small side and a big side. So it's kind of dummy proof. Can't really screw it up. And we got this new ground we need to find. I'll probably, I mean, it's already made up. I'd like to shorten it. I'll see if I have a connector and I'll shorten it and I'll put it right here where this ground strap is. Or maybe over here, I don't know. Cross that bridge when we get there. But now we're pretty much set up to start transferring our plug wires from the old cap to the new cap. I ain't gonna bore you guys with that. I'll be back in a minute. Just got done chasing down that spark plug. I just needed one because last time I changed them, I was kind of in a rush. It was dark, and there was one of them that was just really hard to get. I was like, I'll get it later. Well, now it's later, but I couldn't find the extra one laying around. I did pull all the plugs, clean them off real good. I reset the gap back down to 35. You know, these H.E.Is, they say you can run them 50, 60, like real high. I don't really know about that. The widest I've ever gone is like 46, 47, and they tend to foul up. So I run old school Autolite racing, just copper plugs on this thing. And I mean, I don't really care because I don't really drive it that much, so I don't feel like I ever have to change them or they foul up. But I've always had success with the smaller gap, so I just went right back to 3.5. And I always check them with the old school feeler gauge. The little round tools are nice for just kind of seeing where it's at, or closing or gently opening the gap if you need to. But as far as checking it, use a old school feeler gauge and just go for that slight drag so you get it dialed in about as good as you can. The belts, pulleys, harmonic dampener back on. Got my new harmonic dampener washer and bolt on. I'm really excited about that. It's going to make barring the engine over in the future a lot less stressful. Coat that bolt in a little bit of motor oil, torque it to 60 foot-pounds. For the screws that hold the crank pulley on, I did a little bit of blue Loctite and torqued them to 27 pounds. I just freshened up my alternator and power steering pump bracket with some nice black engine enamel. Kind of fun to do these little projects when you got the car down. And of course, don't forget to always file this down to bare metal if you got a ground. This is where my battery ground's at. And I gotta say, I'm super happy with the way the plug wires are dressed. I think this is the best way I've ever had them laid out. They're clear from the headers. They're kind of spread out from each other. They look really, really good in the all black, which I'm trying to do. Trying to go for like black and rust, I guess, you know, kind of like a junkyard Rottweiler, I guess is the vibe. So added a few more black elements under here, and it looks really good. I've done all my little pre-checks, did my little pre-lube like I do, and I don't think we have many cranks because the battery is getting kind of low. So let's go ahead and do it. I got the clamp down pretty hard on the distributor. Not bolted down to where it's stuck, but enough to where it's not going to jump out or adjust itself. On the dampener, I think I'm going to be going for, at the end of the day, around 32 degrees total. So I marked 32 degrees on the dampener. And I also marked 16 because I'm guessing I couldn't really find anything straightforward online, but if this JEGS H.E.I. gives about 16 total degrees mechanical advance, then I'm thinking 16 is around where my baseline should be. So if I ready the timing gun and I can at least get it on or rotate the cap to where it'll turn on, I can go over there and get it to 16 as fast as possible. Had to do a little bit of experimentation to get it to crank over, but once I did, it was cranking, and it was somewhere around the 30 degree advance mark with the choke on pretty much all the way. And I had to do a little bit of dancing there to kind of get everything to equal out. And I was able to kind of get it idling steady back down at my 16 degree sort of baseline timing. So got it up to temperature, it turned off, turned back on, no problem. I pulled out my little temp gun because I wanted to see if I had a true V8, because it definitely sounded a little different. And hit them all, and the one over here, the number 8 cylinder, or excuse me, the number 7 cylinder, it was firing. One over there to the number 2 cylinder, cold, and I was about to start tripping, but turned off the engine, took the plug wires off, back on, and it was good to go. So might have been a little bit of a user error on my part with that one, but I would definitely say that so far it's turning on and idling a lot better. Thanks a lot for swinging by and checking out my project, guys. I definitely appreciate it if you subscribe. I'm trying to grow the channel and hopefully maybe get some sponsorship, get some parts out here so I can really start wrenching on this for you guys. Let me know down in the comments if there's anything you want to see, and kind of for the rest of the video, I'm just gonna mill about and get this thing tuned and maybe get it onto the road. So right now I'm signing off, but feel free to stay by and watch if you'd like. Peace. Go for a ride. This thing really hasn't been driven since August, so I'm not going to do anything too crazy. Gotta kind of build my trust back up in it. Fires right up, good oil pressure. Looks like the tack is working. Let's go. Ooh, first time I felt second gear. Man, looks like this thing is low on gas. Either that or the gas gauge just isn't working. I won't get too far away from the house. Alright. Well, it's responsive. It didn't fall on its ass. And that wheel cylinder's not locking, so that's nice. Firm shifts. Alright, I'm digging it. Oh, my lights aren't working because I pulled the fuse out. Actually, it is kind of walking to the side a little bit. I can tell that that brake is getting ready to probably not release next time I use it. We'll see. Up. That is very nice to hear. Old school. Yeah, I need to replace my fuse. I've been borrowing them. Been borrowing fuses for just about everything. There's the beach right here. That's where the water comes from. Go flood all these cars. Running a little rich, which is just bothering me, so I am gonna swap out the primary metering rods for one size smaller, and it's really easy to do. You just gotta, you know, loosen up lightly these screws right here, and this little plate will come off, and then you'll see a spring will pop out as a little rod. You just swap it out with one of the other ones in here. I mean, make sure you know which ones you're putting in, but I'm gonna go back one leaner. See, this is your metering rod, right? Aw, that's all you gotta do is just swap out that little rod there. There's a little spring mechanism that holds it in place, but it's not too hard. All right, so once you get your new metering rod on the cup, her piston just drops in like that. And you're gonna want it to be able to spring up and down. And there are some springs in there too that you can adjust, and I might even do that here in a second. I'll see how much time I have. All right, so push that down, swivel that little door over there, and then get you a T15 and tighten that up. I got both of those primary metering rods swapped. Let's fire it up and see if maybe there's a little bit less smoke. Wow, literally no smoke at all. Like a 2-second fix. And this thing was fogging out the hood, dog. Not bad. I gotta happy with how it's running now. I think I'm just gonna do one more thing. I'm gonna show you all how to check those little springs for the primaries, because you know, I was getting a little bit more vacuum before, I believe. Right now it's somewhere between 7 and 10, and it'll ride up 10 for a little bit, but then, you know, it kind of comes down and all that good stuff. So I'm just gonna check out these springs, and basically what we're doing is we're gonna run the engine and just yip the throttle a little, and we're looking for those suction cups to come down. If you got really low vacuum, you might need to switch it out for some lighter springs, or if you got high vacuum, some heavier springs. So that's what this little test does. Let's check it out. I was waiting for these things to dance. We want them to basically suck down while it's idling, and the second we get the throttle pop up. If you check them out, they pop up pretty nice, but you know, kind of when the engine chills back down to that sort of lower, around 7 inches of mercury, the vacuum, then they kind of float a little. So I'm gonna swap those springs out with the next lightest ones. Let's see, these are, I don't even know, I think they were the orange ones. Stand by. So just like that, a couple easy adjustments, and really got that carburetor kind of where it needed to be, at least for a good baseline to start kind of testing some different total timing. And that's really all there is to adjust on this car, man. Don't really want to take it too much past this with the engine and start working on the body and some of the other drivetrain components.